A 1, 2, 3, 4, and hey everybody, welcome back to Swift Guitar Lessons for another rhythm/music theory tutorial. A quick pro tip: if you're able to memorize each of the notes that we have in the major and natural minor scales across all 12 keys, and also how to play those scales in their chordal, harmonized forms, you will have a superpower that allows you to write songs more effectively, transpose chord progressions on the fly, and also learn tunes more quickly because you'll be more aware of the palette that the majority of songwriters are using most of the time. In previous lessons, I broke down how to play all the chords in the key of A minor and also C major. Well, today we're moving up the chromatic scale. I'm going to be breaking down how to play all the chords that we have in the key of B minor. Of course, I have a printable PDF study guide at patreon.com/swiftlessons to aid you in your study. Let's get started. Okay, a close look at the fretboard, getting started with section 1 of this lesson. Learning each of the chords that we have in the key of B minor using mostly open position shapes. Each of these chords is being drawn from the B natural minor scale, which contains the notes B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G, A, B. Next octave, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G, A, B. It's so helpful to practice singing as you play. Just helps with retention and also helps to develop your pitch. Okay, so that scale can also be found here. All right, and we're going to be able to draw out each of these chords from that scale. Each root note is going to be converted to a chordal form. Okay, first a demonstration. We're going to be playing each of these chords as 4-note harmonies. We're getting started with B minor 7, the 1 chord in the key of B minor. Next we have C sharp half diminished, also known as C sharp minor 7 flat 5. Then the 3 chord D major 7, then the 4 chord E minor 7. Next we have F sharp minor 7. Okay, so mixing barred and open shapes. Next we have G major 7, a little awkward. A dominant 7, and we're back to B minor 7. Okay, so this is one of those keys where you can't play each of the chords that we have as open position chord shapes. We have to mix in some barred shapes as well. Okay, breaking down each of those chords, that 1 chord B minor 7, we're barring A string to high E string, 2nd fret. I've got 4th fret of the D string and the 3rd fret of the B string. Alright, my thumb is nice and low. That allows my index finger to straighten. I'm pulling back with both arms, pressing my chest into the guitar. Alright, that's going to give me a nice, clean bar chord. Okay, now taking the root note up a full step, we've got the 2nd note of the scale and the 2 chord in the key of B minor. This very stressful half diminished chord, C sharp half diminished, aka C sharp minor 7 flat 5. Okay, so that's just a zigzag shape. Alright, so frets 4, 5, 4, 5. Okay, then on to the 3 chord D major 7. Very, very simple. I love this chord. I have the open D string, and I'm barred across the G, B, and high E strings, 2nd fret with my index finger. Okay, I got my thumb right behind that finger, squeeze it nice and tight. Again, I can pull back a little bit, just a hair, to get some extra pressure. Okay, then we have the 4 chord E minor 7. Alright, another super useful shape. We've got the 2nd fret A string, 2nd fret D, and my pinky's on the 3rd fret of the B string. Strumming E to E. All right, now another bar chord shape. We're gonna bar E to E, 2nd fret. Again, the thumb nice and low, pulling back. I'm gonna grab the 4th fret of the A string. And that's gonna give me F sharp minor 7. All right, the 5 chord. All right, then we're on to G major 7. It's gonna be just like a typical G major chord, except we're gonna have the 2nd fret of the high E string. So frets 3, 2, 0, 0, 0, 2. Okay, from there we're on to the 7th chord in the key of B minor, A dominant 7. Okay, so this A7 chord, we got 2nd fret of the D string and 2nd fret B string. I like using my middle and ring fingers, strumming from the A string down. Another super useful chord shape. All right, then from there, we're back to B minor 7. All right, so practice those chords nice and slow, build the muscle memory. Once you have them down, you'll have B minor 7, C sharp half diminished, D major 7, E minor 7, F sharp minor 7, G major 7, A dominant 7, and B minor 7. Okay, now let's expand our horizons. We're gonna be moving up and down the fretboard, learning how to play each of the chords that we have in the key of B minor using nothing but movable shapes. Okay, so when establishing chord shapes up and down the fretboard, I find it very useful to first learn the scale on a single string, so that way you know where all of the root notes lay. So if we're playing in the key of B minor, we have the natural minor scale key of B on the A string. And as I mentioned before, each of those notes can be a root note for a chord in the key. All right, so first memorize the pattern of whole steps and half steps that make the scale. A whole step, a half step, a whole step, a whole step, a half step, a whole step, and another whole step. All right, giving us the notes B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G, A, B. Okay, now that we know where each of the root notes lay on the A string, we can apply a 4-note harmony to each. Okay, so just like before, we have the B minor 7 chord, the C sharp half diminished, but now the 3 chord, we can find that as a barred shape. All right, so I'm barring the 5th fret A string to high E string, and I've got the 7th fret D, 6th fret G, and the 7th fret B string. All right, that's D major 7. Next, I can go up a full step and recycle my minor 7 chord shape to create E minor 7. Take that up a full step and we have F sharp minor 7. Okay, from there, I can continue going up the scale. I can recycle my major 7 chord shape, put it on the 10th fret position. Now I have G major 7. So frets 10, 12, 11, 12, 10. All right, take that up a full step, remove the middle finger, and we have A dominant 7. A little bit tricky here. All right, and then up a full step, and we have another minor 7 shape. We're back to the tonic B minor 7. All right, now things get a little tricky here. A lot of you might not have a cutout to be able to play up into the higher frets. So it's helpful to be able to start using the E string rooted chords instead. So we can start rooted off of the A string, B minor 7, C sharp half diminished, D major 7, E minor 7, F sharp minor 7, that's still pretty easy. Okay, we can also play this chord here, as you learned before. But now we can play this G major 7 rooted off of the low E string as well. Here's a common grip, a jazz grip of this chord. 3rd fret low E string, 4th fret D, 4th fret G, and 3rd fret B string. The A string and high E strings are muted. G major 7. Okay, next we can find our A dominant 7 chord right here in the 5th fret position. Okay, barring the 5th frets, low E to high E, 7th fret A, and 6th fret G string. And then up a full step, remove the middle finger, and we have B minor 7 once again. Okay, so practice along with me. A string rooted, B minor 7 chord. The half diminished, D major 7, E minor 7, the F sharp minor 7, G major 7 rooted off of the low E string, A dominant 7, and B minor 7. Okay, from here, depending upon your level of experience, many of you are going to need to practice these chords extensively over the course of several practice sessions. But if you're already feeling confident, then I invite you to move on to the next section of this lesson, where I'm going to put together an original chord progression and add in a funky rhythm, just a practice routine for you to add into your daily regimen. Okay, demonstrating this practice routine, it's going to consist of a B minor 7, an E rooted F sharp minor 7, an E minor 7, and an A dominant 7 before returning back to B minor 7. It's gonna look and sound like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, and all right, and real slow. Breaking that down, I'm starting with that B minor 7 chord. I'm going to break apart the bass from the highs. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and hitting the low E string open at the very end of the first measure. All right, so bass note, highs, slap, the bass again, highs, slap, and then the low E string. All right, nice and slow. That gets me to measure number 2, where I'll have the exact same rhythm, but over F sharp minor 7. This time, ending the measure on the 1st fret of the low E string. Now you have 2 measures of music. Let's see if we can practice it. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3, 4 and. So important that you practice counting as you play. That's really how you get rhythms down. All right, now, E minor 7 chord. We're gonna play. And walk up to the A dominant 7, all right, just for a little bit of flavor. All right, so grab your E minor 7 chord shape. All right, just like before, bass highs, slap, bass highs, and then immediately walk up 2, 3, 4, and 5 into the next measure. Okay, so over that E minor 7, you should have, real slow, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, getting us to the A dominant 7 chord, where we're going to continue on just as we were. You're going to play the exact same thing that you played over the F sharp minor 7, now targeting the root note on the low E string. Bass up, slap, slap, open A ends this measure, because that's going to get us to the next note, 2nd fret of the A string, to repeat what we played over the B minor 7 chord. Okay, put all that together and we have a nice practice routine. See if you can loop it. B minor 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3, 4 and 1. One more time. like that. Very good, everybody. You're ready to start your week of practice. Get those chords down. Be sure to circle back to my original 2 videos in this series, breaking down the chords in the key of A minor and C major. And together we're going to go through all the keys and make sure that you have all this information down. All right, everybody. Thanks so much for checking out this rhythm guitar tutorial. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. And also if you would like for me to break down the same concept, but in additional keys. I want to thank my patrons for making all these lessons possible. I hope you're enjoying those extra resources. And until next time, this is Rob coming to you from the Jersey Shore saying happy picking.